Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending the neighborhood meeting for the villages at Vanden Meadows, Unit 1B. We're just going to start this presentation in a couple minutes to give opportunity for more people to be able to attend. Hey, everyone. For those that are just joining us, we're waiting a couple minutes to see if we get any more participants for this neighborhood meeting. Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending the neighborhood meeting for the villages at Vanden Meadows, Unit 1B by BrightSky Residential. So quickly going over tonight's agenda, we're going to do introductions, the purpose of tonight's meeting, then the applicant is going to present their project, and then we're going to go over what the next steps are, and then we'll have an opportunity for to receive any questions or comments for this design review application. So for introductions, my name is Sarah Nolan. I'm an assistant planner with the city of Vacaville, and I am the project planner for this development. We also, in attendance tonight, we have Albert E. Nolt, who's a senior planner, Payman Bavand, who's the planning manager, and Aaron Morris that is our community development director. For the applicant and property owner team, we have Charles McKay, who's the president of BrightSky Residential. With him is Tim Sipolix, who's the head of operations. We also have Reggie Decker, who's the principal at Decker Development, and Kelly Cordano from Director of Client Services at Greystar. So really the purpose of tonight's meeting is that the city staff wants to formally introduce the proposed house plans by BrightSky Residential to the neighborhood, and to just kind of like get that opportunity for the developer to explain their project, what their design is going to be for this neighborhood, and then also kind of open up that dialogue for the community members and kind of seek that initial feedback of the design of the houses and answer any questions that the community may have, and then also provide kind of an update on what the next steps will be for this review process. So with this, I'm going to turn this over to BrightSky Residential to continue the presentation.
Great. Sarah, I don't know if I can take control of your slides or not, but this is Charles McKay, BrightSky Residential. We look forward to the opportunity to share our plans for Vanden Meadows Unit 1B, project that we're calling Sierra Vista, which sits on 84 lots in the heart of the Vanden Meadows community. Perhaps, Sarah, we could pop to the next slide. We'll just give you a quick overview of the project and also a little bit of where we are in the process. So this is a portion of the Vanden Meadows community, which was originally approved years back as part of the Vanden Meadows specific plan. Subsequently, through various transactions, a portion of it was acquired and developed by Meritage Homes. We then acquired a portion of the project from Meritage at the beginning, late last year, and we are now coming forward with our architectural plans and our community design. The property is already developed in terms of the lots already in the ground, streets, curb, gutter, sidewalk, lighting, and everything is there. And so really what we're here to do is bring forward our specific design for the homes, as well as along with a community center that will be incorporated into the project. So the end of our project will consist of a combination of primary homes and accessory dwelling units on each of the minimum 6,000 square foot lots in the project. We'll have from the ADU all the way through the primary home, from 1 bedroom all the way to 4 bedroom units in this project, each with a private garage, private parking, and up to 3.5 bathrooms. All the homes in this community will have private entrances, private garage, covered patios with private yards. This will be a community that is designed sort of to the higher specification level than most might be used to seeing in the single family tract development world, given that this will be a community that will be leased to residents versus sold to residents. It's very important from our standpoint that we create a program that is designed with today's high spec levels that are really assumed by and expected by today's rental consumer. The project will have, each of these homes will have stainless steel appliances and quartz countertops on the interior. Obviously, as part of our Title 24, we'll have an active solar energy system throughout the community, 9-foot ceilings. So this is, from our perspective, within these homes and both inside and out, a luxury rental product, which is really something that's highly demanded in the marketplace. And although a luxury product by rental standards, really, one of the things that's very attractive for communities like ours is an opportunity to provide a single family lifestyle to folks who might otherwise struggle in today's high interest rate environment, with high prices and affordability being a challenge to get into a single family community. So maybe I'll pause there really quick, just as an overview, just to introduce the other folks on our team. With me this evening, we've got Tim Sipowicz, who is the head of operations for BrightSky. Tim's responsible for all of the asset management aspects of the project. He is the person who will make sure that we have the right people in the project maintaining it, right people in the project in terms of the lease up, vetting the backgrounds of all the future tenants for the project, and every other aspect. It's sort of the operations and management side of the program. We also have Reggie Decker. Reggie's been with us helping bring the project forward in terms of getting the site ready, and then ultimately working our way through the planning process, where we sit today, kind of through this design review process into our construction documents, and ultimately getting us to the place of being built out. In addition, we've invited Kelly Cordano from Greystar to join us. Kelly and Greystar, or the third-party management company with whom our company and our parent company have a great deal of experience, and they're really the best in the business when it comes to property management. And so they will. Kelly's here to offer up any answers that anyone may have regarding the operational aspects and management aspects of the project. So perhaps we can pop to the next slide. So I've pretty well covered the basics of the program. There's and obviously just sort of setting some context. What we're presenting this evening is not the subdivision approval or any of that stuff that happened much earlier, years back. In fact, as I had mentioned before, we're working within a portion of Vanden Meadows. It was originally a nearly 800 house community, and we have acquired 84 lots within the community. We will build homes on 81 of those lots. 3 of those lots will be dedicated to a resort style pool amenity with a clubhouse, leasing center, interior and exterior rec space, and then also a passive park area for the residents, which will really enhance the character of this community and offer people a place to both live and play. So the community as originally designed, there would have been a single primary home on each lot. Really where we're going with this program in terms is really the result and response to new state law adopted in the last few years, really to encourage the development of accessory dwelling units within single family residential neighborhoods, and creates a real great opportunity for folks who might not otherwise find their way into a single family community to live a really high quality lifestyle outside of your typical sort of more traditional garden apartment. I'm very excited about bringing this product offering to Vacaville, and look forward to sharing a little bit more with you about the program. So perhaps we can flip to the next slide. This is an example of the product that we've designed for the program, with the primary homes oriented to the front. As you would see in any traditional program, the accessory dwelling units on a shared driveway oriented to the rear of each home. And each of these homes will have its own private entry, just as you would. There's really no distinction between this and the way this lives in a for sale neighborhood. Private entry, private garage. There will be private yard space for both the primary home and the accessory dwelling unit. The accessory dwelling units we have a 1-bedroom plan and 2 2-bedroom plans. The single family homes are 3 and 4 bedroom programs. We have both single story and 2-story homes designed with a farmhouse traditional and transitional elevation style that we really are confident that this is going to be a very attractive addition to the community. There's as the world has sort of matured into a strong tastes for new architectural styles. We're excited to bring something that hasn't been seen yet in the local community, and we think that's going to be a really attractive and beautifully maintained program going forward. So perhaps the next slide, please. This is also a rendering of the amenity center that will be on site. This portion of it includes a clubhouse, some outdoor living opportunity, and 35 by 55 square foot pool. There's barbecue facility indoor. There's clubhouse space, leasing center, maintenance offices, and then next door to the clubhouse, there's a park that will be available for passive use for all the residents, and there's a picnic area in the park. So it'll be, what would have been houses in this portion of the project will become an attractive amenity for the community. Next slide, please. This gives you an idea of how the accessory dwelling unit, primary dwelling unit are plotted in a typical fashion on the lots. As I had mentioned before, each lot is a minimum 6,000 square feet, 60 feet wide by 100 feet deep. And we have in certain configurations, the accessory dwelling unit is attached at one wall at the garage of the primary home. And in the other two configurations, it's detached. In all cases, there is private outdoor space for both the primary and the accessory homes. One thing I know that often can be of a concern is just looking at parking when every residential community is obviously that's something that can be of concern. One thing that we really like about how this design has come together was we've got an opportunity for a combination of 3 parking spaces within the homes. So you have a two car side-by-side garage for each primary home, a singles car covered garage for each accessory dwelling unit. In addition, each of the primary homes on the front on our Plan 2 and Plan 3 configurations, the primary homes have an additional 2 parking spaces on the outside. So there's over 650 parking spaces that are off the street for this community of what is 162 homes. So it's a much higher parking ratio than you might otherwise find in a typical community. In addition, there's on-street parking throughout in those areas along the street where there are no driveways. So we're confident that although with having additional small accessory dwelling units, that the community will be parked well, and we can go into a little bit more about sort of how we manage that aspect of things as we move on here. Next slide, please. So I might now just turn it over to Kelly Cordano to share a little bit about Greystar, about how Greystar manages properties and kind of what that relationship looks like, not only with us, but with the residents that join us here in the future.
Great. Yeah, happy to jump in. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Hi. Good evening, everybody. This is Kelly Cordano. I'm here to represent Greystar. We are a large institutional property manager. We've got a deep history in operating, not globally, but really focused here in Northern California as well. We manage over 50,000 apartment units here in Northern California. And our bread and butter is really that newer Class A, nice quality product, anything from luxury high-rise product in downtown San Francisco to your traditional newer garden style apartments, and then this newer type of product where it's these more single family type rental homes. So we'll be the acting property manager on this site. And so what that means is that we will be responsible for maintaining the conditions of the buildings, of the dwellings, both inside and outside. We will be managing the common spaces. We'll be managing the grounds and the landscaping throughout. We'll also be managing all of the leasing components. So we're handling the leases with the residents. We're handling all of the residents and the resident issues. And that comes by way of a full-time staff that will be on the property located there. We'll also have somebody living on site to be a key holder and to manage some of these spaces. So we'll have a team in place. We'll also have a couple contracted services that we will be managing for things like for landscaping. But all in all, this Greystar is a management company really prides themselves on maintaining and managing a really high quality product. And we're excited to deliver something like that to the city here. So I'll pass it back to you to keep going with the presentation.
There we go. Apologize. Wanted to just share with everyone as well. We will be partnering with DeNova Homes, a very well-known entity both in the city of Vacaville and the surrounding area, to operate as our general contractor for the build out of this community. And we're very proud to partner with the DeNova team. They have an unparalleled track record of developing high quality communities and building a really great home. So obviously it's important for us that what we create in the community is done to the highest standard, and DeNova was a perfect choice for us for working in the community. So we've been around for over 30 years and have developed thousands of homes throughout Northern California and elsewhere. And we are very pleased that DeNova was in a position to partner with us to complete Sierra Vista. So I think with that, Sarah, I think it's back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for going over the design and the operation of this community, proposed community. So going over the next steps, tonight we like in the next couple of weeks, we're hoping to, evaluate and respond to public comments that we receive. If the city is also reviewing this application to prepare conditions, the decision maker is going to be reviewing the records and just the application materials and the public comments for this application to then make a determination on this design review application. And then once that determination is made, the city staff will also notify everyone that was notified for this neighborhood meeting and for public comments on that final decision. So with that, we're at the end of our presentation. I also wanted to make a note that we have Planning Commissioner Wilkerson as well as City Councilman Wiley and Councilmember Chapman in attendance, and they are observing this neighborhood meeting. Also on the screen is my contact information if you do not feel, and also Planning Commissioner Ritchie. And so on this screen we have Councilmember Ritchie. So also on the screen we have my information. So if you are not able to, if you don't want to provide your public comment tonight or have questions later on, you have my email or my phone number. And then we also have the applicant's information. So for the public comments tonight, we are going to be using the chat feature, or not the chat feature, the raised hand feature in Zoom. And so I just will request that everyone remains mute. And then if you want to have provide your comment, just use the raised chat feature and then I'll call your name and then unmute you. And so with that, do we have anyone that wants to provide the first comment or question? Okay, so far I don't see anyone with the raised hand. Okay, looks like I have Bruce Smith.
Yeah, good afternoon or evening. So I had a few questions that I'd sent to you, Sarah, and I apologize, I hopped on a little bit late, so I don't know if they were addressed earlier by Mr. Decker. But my question is around the CFD 11. Are they paying CFD 11?
Yes, they will be.
Okay, thank you. And then any plans to work with the school district on the overcrowding of the schools that are already?
Yeah, so the applicant, they will be paying school mitigation fees for this project.
Okay, And then I'm sorry, like I said, I hopped on late. One other question I had is, are the ADUs going to be rented separately from the main houses, or the people that rent the houses going to be renting the ADUs as well?
I think Kelly Cordona will be better able to answer that question.
Yeah, those will be separate entities, and we will be handling the leasing of those units, and we'll lease them separately. So each unit, primary unit and ADU will have individual leases with Greystar and property management.
And has that been successful elsewhere?
It has been, yeah. We have a couple of them, not only in California, but other parts of the country as well. So it's something that we've been operating pretty successfully.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then so it looks like the next person we have is Mike Little.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. All right, so listening to some of the stuff, it said that California was requiring or wanting more ADUs. Is this a legal statute that
Did you go to more?
has to happen in Vacaville?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I think there was some.
So one of the applicant was talking about the ADUs being recommended or something trying to be pushed in California. Is that a state law, or is that something that they're just trying to encourage?
To respond to that, so as part of its overall housing crisis package of various legislation, the California legislature passed a number of new laws. One of which in the last few years, one of which was a law making it basically giving every owner of property within a single family residential zone a legal right to develop an accessory dwelling unit on their property. And that law sets forth various restrictions, but also provides opportunities for everyone. So it's essentially made the review and approval of accessory dwelling units a ministerial act, as opposed to something that's legislative or something that requires discretionary approval through the process. And so every city is authorized either to adopt an ordinance that follows that state law, or to just, if they don't adopt an ordinance, to follow the state law in terms of its review and approval of accessory dwelling unit applications. So the words that I used before with respect to encouraging, the law was passed as part of the state's effort to address the housing supply crisis. That's really the encouragement part of it. And what the law did is it made it possible to develop communities without, through a different process than you otherwise would in terms of producing ADUs.
Thank you,
Okay.
Charles, for clarifying that. Michael, do you have any additional questions or comments?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a decent amount here. So, and I understand the spirit of the ADU is for single family home owners to be able to do that, not rental companies. So that is the one thing that I think is concerning, because we've talked about the missing middle in Vacaville, and we've been we understand the state law that's been forced down our throats here on this side of town. But the ADU, obviously it's great for a homeowner to be able to have a little rental income or in-law suite or something like that. But we're talking about two separate homeowners in the same property. Is this requiring a rezoning? Is this requiring, because right now we're basically duplicating what was originally planned and going from single family home to now two homes on the same lot?
Yeah, so this will not be requiring any rezoning for this proposed project.
Okay, and then the original EIR, are they using the original EIR? Because it seems like as we're now adding double the occupancy to the area, that we should be looking at the impact this has on our community, especially with the apartments that are going in right there.
Yeah, so we will be reaffirming the EIR for this specific plan.
Okay, so is there a review process that has to go back into effect, or you're just basically hoping that Planning Commission adopts it?
So pretty much with this application, the city staff will be reviewing this to make sure that it's meeting design standards and reviewing it for also the environmental assessment.
Okay, and then I think that's all I have for right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then so the next participant I have is Elisa.
Yes, good evening. If this project gets approved, what's the timeline you guys think this would be happening?
Appreciate the question. Our expected timeframe now as we work our way through design review and the construction and building permit approval process for the house plans is that we would be under construction as we approach kind of end of the summer, moving into the fall
Of next year?
of this year.
Of this year. Okay, and worried about Section 8. Would that be something that would be happening? Would you guys be accepting with the ADUs, Section 8, renters?
No, and I'd be happy to have Kelly share a little bit more about our applicant screening process and the qualification process if he'd be care to chime in, but
Sure, yeah, so as far as the rental process goes, there's not a requirement, as far as I'm aware, on this to go through with Section 8 housing on this, on the vouchers. There's certain times where we have to approve and accept those applicants, but there's not a requirement to do so here. For the most part, though, this most likely would not have a large Section 8 presence, if any.
So it's possible to have Section 8 within the community.
It is possible, yes.
yeah, I mean, all dependent. I think that we are not producing any mandated affordable housing options here, and so and these will be all market rate homes for the renters of this community.
And this is Tim Sipowicz with BrightSky. Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to add the comment that Greystar, our manager, obviously would have to follow fair housing requirements. So under fair housing, that would be the obligation. Outside of that, we have no low income requirement.
Great. Elisa, do you have any additional questions or comments?
Yes, actually, as I understood, this project is not yet approved. As a homeowner, this was not what I expected to be around my neighborhood, because if I knew offhand, we wouldn't have bought the house in the neighborhood that we are at now. So what, as a homeowner, what can we do to make sure our voices are heard, and that our do we need to get petition for the surrounding neighborhood?
Yeah, so
what do we do?
Yeah, so this is like the first step of like we're at this neighborhood meeting, we are getting public comment and inputs. There's also opportunities if you want to like provide like email me so that I can like put it into the record so it's a formal public comment. And then also as we're going through this process, we're going to make sure that we keep notifying and updating the neighborhood about what's going on with this project. When there is a decision that is made, we will be notifying the neighbors as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Did you have any other questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, the next one will be William Walker. William, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, have I unmuted?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I had a few questions. This is maybe not necessarily directly related, but because I feel like I was blindsided by Meritage Homes selling out from the development they had made me understand what they were building. I'm curious, does anybody know if Meritage Homes is letting the potential buyers of the homes they're still building know that this project is going in?
Hi, Willie. So I am actually unaware of whether Meritage Homes is providing any information on that.
Seems like they'd be affected by this and somehow they should be notified. Anybody that's potentially going to purchase one of the few remaining homes that's within the required distance of this project.
Yeah.
And-
Thank you
and
for
I'd
your
be
help.
Happy to share that there is reference in the CCNRs for the community that indicate that rental homes may be part of the community. So, but to the extent that the folks on the Meritage side are sharing that with homeowners, that's ultimately something to probably have to ask them and their sales folks.
Okay. I saw something in a previous slide. I don't know if it was a typo or if this is something that you've covered, but it was some reference to 648 off-street parking spaces.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little more? I didn't quite understand that.
So essentially, that calculation is you have the parking within each garage, and you have the additional off-street parking within the driveways. So we get to about 648 spaces off-street, and just make sure. And then we have additional on-street spaces as well, traditional sort of interspersed throughout the community along the street.
For 80 some lots, 648 spaces seems frankly a little unrealistic. How many cars would be parked in a driveway? Are we talking maybe 6 or 8?
So if you have some of the homes, you have traditional, if you look at the frontage, right, you have 2 in the garage, 2 in front of the garage. At least those spaces are all available. Whether folks use them or not is the other question. And then you have some of those where, and then each the ADUs has a parking space within the garage. And then there's additional space that could accommodate parking on the primary home, just as it would on those that front out to the street. And I'm actually, the math here actually may be, that may not be correct as I'm calculating it up, because we're really 648 divided by, it comes out to about 4 per unit.
Well, 4 times 80 something is not 648, right? So I don't think we're, whatever.
I'm sorry,
It just seems like,
yeah.
I'll just comment that it seems like a lot more vehicle
Yeah.
traffic. Which brings me to my next point. There was some reference in some literature that I read either on your plan or information from the city that mentioned that access will be from Denton. That may be true if people are entering the project from Denton Street, but because Denton has a right turn only onto Leisure Town, I only can believe that there'll be an excessive amount of vehicle traffic on the other streets, such as Burgundy to Redstone Parkway, or to Preston, or other areas to get out of this development. Particularly when we're talking, potentially 648 vehicles in a project this size. Is there any plans to modify Leisure Town's right turn only access from Denton?
No, not in connection with this project, at least from our perspective.
Okay. Another question I had is DUA, is that dwelling units per acre? Is that the correct terminology?
Yes, that is.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, I believe this property is zoned for 3.1 to 5.0 dwelling units per acre. And I saw a reference on, I believe, some BrightSky literature that referenced 9.9 dwelling units per acre.
So they are still within that density allowance, because it is doing 1 primary dwelling per lot, and then they're also proposing 1 ADU per lot, and the ADUs do not count towards density.
Hi, this is Reggie Decker. I just wanted to add in here, and maybe if the chat's disabled, so I was going to add the link, but I'd encourage everyone, you can go to the HCD's, the housing website, and search for the Accessory Dwelling Unit Handbook, which compiles all the applicable state law that has been put into place and puts it more into layman's terms. So I'd encourage you to read that and just see, what exactly the state has allowed with the housing crisis laws that have been passed.
Okay, and then this is probably a question for some of the city planning folks that are here this evening, but is there a requirements as far as when a lot is developed, how much hardscape there can be? And does there need to be areas that aren't hardscape for drainage?
Yeah, we do have impervious surfaces. We look at setback requirements, and that is within our development code for the land use.
And does this project meet that code?
That is something that we are still determining at this time. They just resubmitted the application, so city staff is reviewing those application materials.
Yeah, it seems like the impervious surfaces would be limited with the amount of driveways that is being put in for these ADUs and the dwellings that are going in place. It looks excessive. I'm just curious if it meets the code.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that we'll be looking at during this review process and making sure that it is meeting our development code.
And then last, is there anyone from the project that can tell us what today's market rate would be for units like this, what it might range from?
This is Tim. We don't have that information available today, but what I can say is this will be a institutional quality project with high finishes. You know, so upper class of a project, if that's helpful.
I believe that's all the questions I have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, William. So the next person I have up is going to be Jasmine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I'm going to piggyback off what both Bill and Elisa have already commented on. We came from a fairly busy neighborhood, and had I known that this was the type of building that was going to be in the area, we had the opportunity to purchase in One Lake where it's congested and overcrowded, and we chose to get property where you had a little bit more space, room for our kids to feel safe and play outside in the streets. So, I mean, having that many additional people, families, and cars on the road, it's definitely a safety factor for us, something that we're concerned about. As far as parking goes, I know they suggest that there are parking on each lot for both units, both the main unit and the ADU unit. How will parking be enforced for these families? Will there be consequences or fines for them to not utilize their garage and, driveway parking spaces over street parking?
That is a great question. And I know Kelly can provide a bit more. Kelly and or Tim could provide a little bit more there. But one of the upsides of having a professionally managed leased community, as opposed to a community, neighbors, who own their property and can kind of do what they want with it, is we have the opportunity to police aggressively every aspect of the community, whether it's maintenance, which we will conduct on our own, or it's the use of space, whether it's noise. Basically everything is under our control, which is one of the things that I think the surrounding community will benefit from. And maybe Kelly or Tim, if you'd like to weigh in a little bit more on specifically how we enforce sort of our regulations with respect to parking and everything else.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Since every one of these residents will be entering in a lease agreement with us, we will be putting in within our lease agreement rules and stipulations on which vehicles can be parked in which spaces. And then we will monitor and manage that with our own staff and also with vended security, roll-through security that's keeping an eye on those things. So as he had just mentioned, we have the ability to put those type of rules within the lease agreements and then be able to police them as a management company.
Great, thank you, Kelly.
Are those rules in your leasing agreement?
Jasmine, are you able to say that again? I think you're cutting out.
Hello?
Yeah,
They said that they have the ability in the lease agreement.
That's right. Yeah, within our lease agreement, we will have parking addendums and addendums that will have requirements on the uses of space and how we use those spaces.
great. Kelly, do you have any other questions or comments?
My name is Jasmine.
Oh, Jasmine, I'm sorry. Okay, Jasmine, do you have any other comments? Okay, with that, I'll have Paul. Paul, you're ready
No.
to?
I would also like to know, as a resident of the area, hello?
Hi, Jasmine. I
Oh.
think you're having some difficulty with your connection. Okay, I'll have Paul. Are you ready to?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Paul.
Okay. I wrote down a few things here. Right here, who makes the decision final and when does that happen for this area?
Yeah, so the decision maker for this project is currently because it's the design review, it is the Director of Community Development. And and right now staff is still reviewing the application, and we don't have like a set date on like when the determination will be made.
Okay. Do you have to live here to be able to park here overnight and park your vehicle or live in your vehicle? Is that possible? Because I see this as with us buying these properties here, I thought it was going to be a lot different. I wouldn't have probably moved in here if I knew there was going to be rental property around me, but I could, yeah, that. And yeah, I just see some people with parking their RVs or campers, and a lot more people living here that were supposed to if they had just bought a single family home. People parking their driveways or in front of their houses.
Yeah, I believe the applicant will be able to better answer that question.
And it's a good question. And I think going back to what Kelly just shared, unlike a for sale community where individual homeowners kind of control their own destiny a bit more, none of the residents within this community can do anything that violates the CC&Rs or that violates the terms of their lease. They will have a lease that they will execute with us that gives us and our management company the power to enforce all of those regulations. And so with respect to parking, for example, if any resident within the community is violating the parking restrictions that are imposed on them under their lease or under the CC&Rs, we have the ability to patrol that, enforce it, and if things aren't resolved, terminate the lease. So it's interesting because, I think often we have sort of the perception that a rental community is going to be a bad thing in terms of things like parking. But I think in some respects, if you have a neighbor now who owns their home next door and has a lot of stuff in their garage and doesn't park in it and has their kids over and everybody else, there's really not a lot you can do to sort of remedy that problem. That's one of the benefits of us being here and doing this from an institutional basis, is that we have the power to enforce the every regulation within the community, which ultimately is going to result in an attractive streetscape that won't be overparked. In all of these homes will be professionally maintained. All the yards will be professionally maintained. We don't have to rely on any single resident or individual's desire or lack of desire to maintain their home. This community will look good in perpetuity because of that.
Thank you
Okay.
for clarifying. Paul, do you have any other questions or
Yes, I got a
comments?
couple more. Is the sewage and water that's already built in here, is it able to handle the extra load that's going to be put on it, because there's going to be so many people that and units than there was first planned for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So during this review process, we do refer this over to our Public Works, who does analyze the capabilities and for the utilities and sewer, and will provide comments pertaining to those.
And somebody gonna, yeah, okay. What were you gonna say something?
Sorry, I was just, did you have any other comments or
Yeah,
questions?
what's the benefit for us that already live here? I mean, I see it as, I don't see it as a benefit having a lot more vehicles, a lot of people that are renting that may not take as much care of the property as you would if you owned it. I see, okay, I'm out of here. I don't care what it looks like. I just don't see it as adding value to my property. So what is the benefit for us?
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to refer you over. I'm going to have the applicant answer.
Again, as I had shared previously, the real sort of distinction between having a series of homes that are owned by a well-capitalized institution that's being managed by the largest, most experienced property management company in the United States, and having the ability to enforce everything from parking to every other manner of use of these properties. And to your concern, potentially about people sort of not taking care of it. Let me just reinforce that the residents of these properties do not maintain them. We do, as the owner of the property. And we're there. We have a very robust maintenance program. We have on-site maintenance. Kelly and or Tim could share with you a little bit more about how robust that on-site maintenance program is. But by way of example, we typically have 4 to 5 full-time staff who are there, we have leasing agents on staff. We have maintenance, a maintenance foreperson, maintenance assistant. And again, I could defer to them a little bit more about it, but I do think it's a really important distinction that, in a for sale community, for example, in the, our neighbors at Meritage, there's the potential that someone who doesn't maintain their property, and there's nothing any of us can do about it. Whereas here we have something to do about it, because we're not asking our residents to maintain the exteriors of these properties or their yards. We are maintaining them, and we're on top of it. So perhaps Tim, you could share a little bit about sort of how the on-site management piece works here.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Charles alluded to, we do have an active on-site management. There's a property manager, there's a maintenance manager, there is maintenance staff under the maintenance manager, and their primary job is maintenance of the community. Respond to requests from residents who live there, as well as manage third-party vendors who do landscape, who do upkeep. As the owner, it is as important to us to maintain this community as I believe it would be for you to maintain your residence. And we put a lot of thought and effort into that. And it's something that's important to us. And with regard to somebody who is neglecting their unit within the rules and regulations, we have the means to address that. And sometimes that leads even to eviction. So obviously there are requirements and laws that you have to follow, but you have the ability, when somebody is not following the rules and regulations, to evict them and replace them with somebody that's willing to respect the residents and take care of it as we would expect them to under the rules and regulations.
Great, thank you for providing that information. Paul, did you have any other questions?
My wife Bernadette is here.
Just a comment, and in talking to all my other neighbors, as well as a few people on this meeting have mentioned, you're basically taking 81 plots and you're doubling that, doubling the number of homes on that plot. Besides just the traffic from that, you're also talking about adding a pool and a community center, which in my mind would even increase the traffic even more, because people are trying to go there, or, you know, it's too hot out and yeah, it might only be a block, but I'm going to drive over there. My concern is that right now we live in a quiet community. Granted, it's a brand new community, but it's a quiet community and kids are literally playing in the middle of the street.
Which is fine.
It really concerns me and worries me that once these homes and ADUs are built, that will no longer be the case.
Yeah, thank you for providing that public comment. Do you have another comment or question?
Does it bring up our property value?
I'll refer that over to the applicant.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
Yeah, does it bring up my property value?
That's a good question. I think that ultimately our property values are a reflection of where the market is at any given time. One thing I will say is that I think having a professionally managed community that's going to look exceptional is going, is certainly not a down push on anyone's property value.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think we're going to go to the next participant. They don't have a name. They're just listed as guest. If you can unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah, I would also like to piggyback off of them, just expressing my concern because there was just an apartment complex that was also approved just a few hundred yards away from that, over on the other side of Redstone. So I feel like we might be behind with schools getting hundreds, if not thousands more people in this relatively small area. I'm worried about overcrowding.
Yeah, and so for this development, they are required to pay school mitigation fees.
Does that help with getting us a new school, or what's that do?
Yeah, thank you for your comment. But yeah, they are required to pay for school mitigation fees, and that's up to the school district.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So then next one I have is William Walker.
Yes, another couple of questions. First, this one was already addressed somewhat, but the community facilities district fee that we are paying currently, it was stated that the developer will be paying those fees on the lots, each
Yes.
individual lot, and that
Yep.
is indefinitely. There's no sunset clause built into anything like that, as was mentioned, I think, in the apartment complex that was proposed over near Redstone Parkway. They were going to pay it for 5 years or something like that. But this is paying it the same way all the residents in this subdivision are paying it. Is that correct?
Yes, that is exactly the case. I know there was something different that happened with the apartment community. That was under circumstances that are not in play here. And so all of those services CFDs that apply to your homes and all the other homes around in Vanden apply to these homes as well.
All right. And then when you lease properties like this, and there are other BrightSky developments, I think, that were initially mentioned when this proposal came out, are there limits on the number of people that can occupy a ADU?
Yes, and that's something too. I could defer you to Tim or Kelly to talk a little bit more about that. But yes, that there would not be, we're not going to overhouse people here.
But by having it in a lease as to how many occupants can live there?
Kelly or Tim, you want to
Yeah.
speak to that a bit for me?
Yeah, that's right. And there is California law that states that you, as far as a rental goes, you cannot allow more than 2 people per bedroom in a unit like this. We follow.
And so how many bedrooms are the ADUs? 1 and 2, is that correct?
Yes.
So that could bring an additional 4 people to those small square footage places. Okay. Yeah, that's the last of my questions. I will just also comment, as others have, that as a property owner, having a home maybe 3 miles from here, before buying this home, I researched this project. I looked at city documents online. I looked at the stuff that had been approved. I went to the developer, Meritage Homes, found out what they were building. I feel blindsided by all of this. It's very disappointing to see a rental community of this size and as congested as it appears that it's going to be, regardless of how professionally managed or how well the property is taken care of. It's very distressing to be blindsided like this. If Meritage Homes doesn't want to build single family homes there, that's fine. The city should get another builder to come in that wants to build single family homes and follow the plan that we were all aware of and what we all believed was going to happen here. But I'm particularly, as I said, disappointed to be blindsided by this project. And then when you say that you're going to rent these things at market rate, but you have no idea what that is right now. Yeah, the whole thing is distressing.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time, and
Yeah.
I will mute myself out.
Thank you for your comment, William. The next guest I have is listed as MS.
Yes, good evening. I was wondering, what is the contact information for the individual that's reviewing this project for approval?
Yeah, so that's I'm the project planner, so my name is Sarah Nolan, and on the screen is has my email
So
address.
you're reviewing it for final approval?
Well, I'm the staff member that is reviewing it, and the director of the community development is currently the decision maker for this project.
Correct. So what is their contact information?
Oh, so the director of community development, her name is Erin Morris. And so her phone number is 707-449-5307. And then her email is going to be erin.morris@cityofvacaville.com.
And Morris, I didn't catch that.
At cityofvacaville.com.
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it'll be Erin, ERIN.Morris, which is MORRIS @cityofvacaville.com. And then if you send your comments to me, I can forward them over to Erin.
Awesome. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jasmine,
Hi. Hello.
yeah, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, sorry, my signal got cut off earlier, but I wanted to also ask the same thing. Being a resident of the homes right next to where this property is going to potentially take place, is there anything we as residents of the community can do to stop this? Or is this out of our hands?
So this project is going through the review process with the city of Vacaville. Right now, we're asking for public comments and receiving any questions that they may have. If you submit a public comment, it'll be put into the record and will be one of the factors that we will review when making a determination. And yeah.
So no number of petitioners.
Sorry, Jasmine, it's a little difficult to hear you. If Jasmine, you're still. Yeah. Jasmine, I'm still having difficulty with your connection. You are more than welcome to give me a call or email, and I can help provide that information for you.
We can all come together and put a stop to.
Say, why can't we use the chat feature? Why is it
Let me see.
disabled? And if there's future meetings, can we use that?
Sorry about that. So Jasmine, for future or for your comment, if you can just reach out to me. I'm having a difficult time hearing you right now, but if you can give me a call or email, I'll gladly be able to help you with your questions. And then, William, did you have another comment?
I do. I just was curious as to why the chat feature is disabled. Is this typical for this type of meeting? Who makes that decision? The applicant or the city? Particularly when we're having audio issues. I'd like to hear what Jasmine has to say, but because her audio is so distorted, no one can hear what comment she's making.
I'm sure it's important.
Who gets to make those decisions as far as the chat feature?
Hey, William, this is Albert Enault, Senior Planner here at Community Development in the City of Vacaville. We've disabled the chat. We've learned through our experiences of hosting these neighborhood meetings that sometimes individuals may be not very controlled in what they're communicating. So we've learned through this process, as the meeting is being recorded, the most effective way is to verbalize those comments, but there's also other means for which people can submit comments. You can send an email, you can call the project planner and submit that information. But that's part of the reason why we've decided to disable the chat feature or the ability to annotate on the screen or to share the screen, is because we've had some experiences in the past where it hasn't worked out too well.
All right, thank you for that explanation. Another question then is the comments and input from people that go to the city, is that public record? Is that something that can be reviewed by any resident, or is that not available?
Yes, it is going to be public record.
At what point? So I sent a letter a week or two ago. Is that currently available if someone wanted to come in and look to see what other people are thinking and what other thoughts they had as far as this project is concerned?
Yes, it is available.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Great. At this time, I don't have any other additional raised hands. If you want to have a question or provide a public comment, I will be available at my email address, which is listed on the screen, as well as by phone call. The applicant is also able to answer any other questions, and their contact is on the screen. With that, since I don't have any additional public comments, I'll be ending this neighborhood meeting.
Thanks, everyone.